always what starts my videos off. All right, so we're going to talk today about QuickBooks. We're getting into the nitty-gritty. This is going to be our introduction to QuickBooks Pro. I know it says 2011 up here. We're going to be doing 2013, and we're going to have some fun with this. So this is what the basic look of QuickBooks is. Have we all seen this before? This little screen? We've never seen this box? No? Michael. Never seen QuickBooks before. All right. That's good. That's what this class is for. You should have seen this, though, if you were an American. I'm just kidding. This means that this is our red, white, and blue profit maker right here. This is what keeps track of all that money, all those Benjamins that we want to make when we're in business. So today what we're going to cover is we want to make sure that we are able to discuss basic accounting concepts after we're done today. We want to determine if QuickBooks is right for the business that you want to have, which it should be for everybody. We want to manage basic QuickBooks files. We want to open a portable company file. And then we want to work with the QuickBooks window. So we got quite a few little things here. And we want to be able to back up a company file. That's what we want to do after we get done with Chapter 1. So we're going to go through some of this stuff. What I'd prefer to do is show it to you all up here, and then we're going to do it together for the second half of the class. Okay? Because if I go back and forth, it gets a little hard to do that back and forth. So we're just going to cover it. In fact, if you want to just shut your laptop and just absorb, I actually think it would probably be a good idea because you're going to want to get the screenshots, you're going to want to get the theories, and we're going to spend the second half of this class on the computer doing all this stuff. So what can QuickBooks do for you? What can it do? Kendra, you want to own your own business one day, right? What can it do for you? Okay, manage your money. You're going to give that kind of power to a computer? I'm just kidding. Skynet will take over.
Payroll?
It will help you with payroll. I think that's one of the best benefits of QuickBooks. In fact, if you have a small business and you don't want to do anything, but you have to pay people, you should buy QuickBooks and pay the $40 a month because it is worth every penny.
I think it's going to streamline business finance and make it automated.
Streamline business finance. He wasn't even here yesterday when we were talking about that. Once again, it's going to be the thing that if we just put the numbers in properly, it's going to spit all the correct information out. And I'm going to tell you the temptation, I'm going to just keep saying this over and over again. The temptation comes from, man, do I have to do this again? Yes, that's the answer. Yes, just have to do it. It will save you so much effort in the future if you just do it the first time. And you'll be like, Mr. Greer, why do you keep saying this? Because I've been in business for a long time. I promise you, I've seen thousands of people make this, well, probably not thousands, but I've seen lots of people make these mistakes where they do not type the stuff into QuickBooks either immediately or properly. And then they wait 5 to 6 years, and then all heck's broken loose, and they're getting audited, or something happened, and they want to go back and fix it. And it's a huge fiasco to do that. Then it becomes forensic accounting where you're trying to find stuff instead of just plugging in basic numbers. Okay, so it can track customers for us. It can track vendors. It can track employees. This is a fantastic feature that it can just take care of all this stuff for us. It can monitor those things for us. It can process sales transactions. And, as Ron wanted to find out, cash receipts. It can take care of all our cash for us. Let us know that it's all being done properly. I believe, and I haven't used it yet, but QuickBooks, I believe, even has their own little iPhone adapter, like swipe card, like a square. So you can do all the transactions straight into your QuickBooks accounting with their software package now. So you load their mobile app, it's like a Square account, you use their credit card merchant, you swipe the card. Not only does it do the whole transaction for you, it sticks all that info in your QuickBooks file for you. That's how awesome it is. So you don't have to do that yourself. That's an impressive little thing, yeah. And if you're tracking inventory, with their little point of sale system, it'll take care of all that within QuickBooks from that sale. It's pretty awesome. What they're doing now, we're in a whole new world. In fact, the last 2 years has really exploded the ability for an individual cheesecake maker to take payments. Because before it was all cash-based, or you had to go out and you had to buy this expensive thing, and we're in this whole new world of portable credit card transaction machines with your smartphone. And so that's adding a whole nother layer of complexity to keeping track of your accounting. Because now we have another source where that person might not have ever done a merchant transaction, is what we call that, where they're using a credit card transaction. But now they can go out and start just taking credit cards, which is great because we get a receipt. We can see all this information. We don't have to rely on us writing down. Yes?
The monthly bank fee?
You get charged a percentage. There's no fee for like a Square. It depends on which one you're doing. But like Square, which is another solution, they don't charge you any monthly bank fees, but they charge you, was it 2.5? 2.37 per transaction. And it's different if you swipe, if you type in the number, and if they sign, if you see the card. There's just different fees for all that. What were we going to ask?
Most credit card processing companies are doing QuickBooks now too.
Yeah, well, most banks will give you export straight out to QuickBooks. Most credit card companies give you straight out to QuickBooks. You still have to go in and kind of authorize which account it's going to go into, but they give you a lot of the stuff that you used to have to type in. It's done for you. You just have to take that 30 minutes a month and say, oh, this transaction goes to this account, this transaction goes to this account, and guess what? After you do it the first time, it defaults to that from there on out. So the next time you can just go through and just make sure all the accounts are right. You don't necessarily have to select the accounts. So the computer, QuickBooks is becoming much smarter. The integration with all the financial systems is becoming much greater. And what we're trying to see, well, I think what they're trying to provide for us is a layer of integration that just makes it easy for business to track stuff. So that's what's beautiful about this. We just have to use the tool. It's like, I don't know if anybody has a dad like me, but my dad always has crappy tools. I learned, I used to build when I was in high school speaker boxes. And I'd have a drill that you have to hold that thing like a certain way with the thing, and then you'd be drilling just to hold that cord right. I remember right after I got married, I went out and bought a Black & Decker cordless drill. And I was trying to build my first speaker box. I'm like, this thing rules. Because I was like half the battle with me was always working with the tool the right way, and you had to stand on your right foot and make sure it went in. And then I started realizing, and I started a construction business doing low voltage cabling. And then that one, it was all about the right tool. Like I had learned my lesson by then, so everybody else would be out struggling. We had the right tools at the place. So we'd be like, oh, I'm trying to do this. Here's the tool for it. Here's a good drill. Here's a good fish tape. Here's a good, it was all the right stuff because a lot of times those tools make everything else easier. That's what QuickBooks is. It's the right tool for the job. We could do this by hand. We could do it with Excel, but the tools make it easier and just make the job come out better for us. It also helps us process purchase transactions, and we can send payments to vendors within QuickBooks. So we can actually sign up for their account. You can use your bill pay or whatever. You can link it to your account. You say pay the bill. QuickBooks authorizes the bank to do it. Everything goes out. So you can actually write stuff straight from QuickBooks out, and it takes care of everything seamlessly. That's pretty awesome. Very few people, I'm going to say this, very few people take advantage of all this because they think, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to use the Band-Aid approach. I'm going to write a check, then I'm going to type it into QuickBooks. But if you purchase QuickBooks checks even, and you don't ever handwrite a check, that becomes a system or a rule. No handwritten checks. So everything has to be typed in to be printed. QuickBooks will have all your checks in there already. You can go through, do your reconciliations. It's beautiful. You just have to limit yourself to working within the system. Okay, I'm going to say that like 5,000 times over the next 4 weeks. We can run payroll, which if all QuickBooks did was payroll, I would say it'd be worth its weight in gold. The other solutions to do this cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. You have to work with the company, you have to have the payroll at a certain time. I was spending probably 6 hours every Friday doing payroll at one of my companies. I one day just thought, I'm going to pay the $40 because I was being a little cheap. I paid the $40. I spent about an hour in there setting up all my employees. And every Friday after that, I would get their time cards, and I would put in their number of hours. I would click next, and I would click print, and then I would go to my taxes, and I'd say pay, and it was all over. It took me about 5 minutes, and I was like, that was the best thing ever. So, it was so nice. And I was like, what did I ever think I was, like, the day I decided to do it, I'm like, my time's worth at least $40 for 6 hours, right? I was telling myself that, and that's every week. But it only cost me $40 a month. I should do this. And sure enough, I was like, I'm an idiot. Like, why have I not been doing this before? So I'm telling you right now, this alone, if you ever have to be issuing paychecks, worth its weight in gold, okay? I only had 7 employees, and it saved me a ton of time. And it's right. And it pays your taxes. You just click go, and it's fantastic. Now we can make it very complicated. We can track and sell inventory. We can put literal numbers of items that we have on site and in our coffers, so to speak. And as we sell things and we invoice things, if we add those quantities, it will subtract them from our inventory. So we can know continuously what's going on. Now when we add inventory, we add a layer of complexity because now we're tracking one more thing. So every time we add one of these things in here, we're making QuickBooks a little bit harder to use, but the outcome is that much greater to what we can have because we have that much more information. So every time we add this, we're saying, okay, I'm going to spend a little more time tracking employees in QuickBooks. But what am I going to get for that? I'm going to have to spend a little more time now tracking my customers, but what am I going to get for that? It just depends on what you think the reward versus the effort is. We also could track assets and liabilities. So what we own and what we owe, those are important. So assets are things that we own for the basic accounting information. Liabilities are what we owe to people. That's what is owed from us. Even if we bought a car, we now have an asset. But if we have a payment on the car, that's a liability. So we owe someone for that car. So as we pay that off, it keeps track of these things. It can tell us, you got 6 months of payments left. We can go in and say, I bought a car, I have 60 payments at $350 a month, and it'll track it as you go down. Every month when you make the payment, it'll say, now you got 59 payments. Now you got, what's next? 57, 58, 57. It's been a long day, and it's only 10. So it keeps track of your bank accounts. This is important. It's funny because a lot of times we think about business and we think we're going to have a bank account. But more often than not, we have several bank accounts. That's what we have. We might have one at Wells Fargo, we might have one at Bank of America, we might have one at Union Bank, maybe one at Chase, and then there's our mutual fund account over at Edward Jones, and then we have, whatever we're doing with that business at that time. And we don't just throw those all into one cash account as we learn in accounting. We always talk about a cash account in accounting, but every time we see cash in accounting, it's actually, that should be like Wells Fargo checking. And then we could have another one that says Bank of America checking. And it keeps track of this, and it'll show us when we get into it on the dashboard, on the home screen, right off the bat. That's one of the first things that pops up. Here's what my bank account balances are. So you can know all the time what's happening in the account. And the good news is, it's not just what's in the account, it's what should be in the account. It's taking into consideration all the checks you've written, all the payments that are owed and due, all that stuff that you've done in QuickBooks. It's actually giving you a correct account balance. So you can be like, oh, I wonder if I can make it. Yeah, just look at your QuickBooks. It'll tell you how much money you have left over right now. It's fantastic that way.
It also it takes those pendings and actually shows.
If it's in the accounting system, it's accounted for. Very nice. That's very nice. All right. So can we think of any other uses for QuickBooks? It's a pretty one-stop shop. It even tells you what type of shirt to wear with the suit you have on. I'm just kidding. No, it doesn't. It doesn't play any movies for us. No music. Unfortunately, it's not an iPod. What else do you think we could do with this, though?
It generates bills.
Wow.
Send that to your customer.
Invoicing. Huge. That's a huge one. Do you use it for invoicing? Do you use QuickBooks? Yes. Invoicing is probably the thing that small business uses the most because it gives you a legitimate way to send somebody a bill. And you'd be surprised how many people are like, I can't pay a bill until I get an invoice.
Yep.
Or they won't pay a bill until they get an invoice. And built into QuickBooks is the ability to do the invoice, and you don't even have to print it anymore. You could say, send by email, bloop, bloop, and it goes off, ships off to the person by email. They get it, and in fact, I believe, I haven't used this, but I believe in this latest release they have an ability that you can even put in their pay now, and QuickBooks charges a fee, but they can pay electronically from the email to your account, and they scrape a little piece off like a credit card transaction would or whatever, but they can actually pay the bill if you enable that service through the QuickBooks invoice. It's pretty awesome. So you don't have to go out and collect. And it might be worth it to send that out. If you were sitting there and you were missing out on 20% of your collections, people weren't paying, and you're like, man, what's going on? And you enable that, and they charge you 2.5% to do that collection, that might be worth every penny of it because you're going to be getting that 17.5% back at that point. So that might be a fantastic business move, and you just took out the hassle of having to collect checks. It's a great way to do it. I know that they can pay with credit cards. So I'm almost positive we were doing that last time I did this. So different types of tasks that QuickBooks does. Anything that affects accounting behind the scenes. And I love this because we spend all the time in accounting, and for those of us who haven't been in accounting yet, we spend all this time in accounting talking about the dual entry, how we have to do two things. Always, every transaction has a dual entry. We do a debit and we always do a credit. There always has to be a debit, there always has to be a credit. Well, QuickBooks kind of makes this kind of fade away. We are doing the double entry all the time. We just don't realize we're doing the double entry because it's taking care of all that stuff in the background. We tell it, oh, I'd like to write a check, and I'd like it to come out of my Wells Fargo checking account. And I want the check to be for $50, and it's for my telephone bill. Well, we don't realize because it looks, hi Laura, welcome. We don't realize because it looks like we're writing just a basic check, but what we're actually doing is we're debiting our telephone expense and we're crediting our bank account or cash account. So we're doing the double entry. It's just making it look like we're writing a check on the screen, which is fabulous. It kind of takes away the T account look. We'll learn about T accounts in accounting, and it makes it very basic. It does the company setup. So everything behind the scenes. In fact, we can get in QuickBooks and you'll see we can set up a company in about 3-4 minutes. Just bam, we're off to the races. We could spend 20 minutes in there and put some very specific things in, tailoring it to us. But QuickBooks is set up by default because so many people use it. They have so many users applying information back into the system that they figured out, you know what, if you run a construction business, this is pretty much what your books should look like. So they can pre-set up a set of books. You run a bakery, let's just say. I'm sure there's a bakery setting in there. You can go into QuickBooks and say, I have a bakery. Boom, they'll give you the typical chart of accounts for a bakery from their users. So it's fabulous because now we're going to have specifics. We're going to have a Wells Fargo checking account, right? Because maybe it just says cash. So we're going to go in and we're going to put in a checking account. It's going to add it in there. We're going to have our little certain things that we do that are differently, but it gives us a great place to start. I call that a framework. And it does all this company setup automatically, and it does it through an interview process. It's almost like, has anybody gone and had their taxes done at H&R Block? What do? You sit down, and then what do they start asking you? Questions, right? Just ask you questions. So, are you married? Have you filed this last year? Or have you done this? You know, they go through a whole list. Well, that's the way TurboTax works. Does anybody ever use TurboTax? TurboTax just asks you questions. It's just not somebody verbally asking you the questions. All they're doing they're going to do the same thing. They're going to say, are you a sole proprietorship? Are you a partnership? Are you an LLC? Are you a corporation? I'm a corporation. Okay. Now it knows you have capital stock and you don't have owner's equity. You know, it just changes the accounts at that point. It's fabulous to do the setup with it. It has activities, and we're going to see these groups of activities. In fact, there'll be squares, invoicing, or customers and vendors and bill pay, things like that. And it has a very logical track. Now, Ron, you've used QuickBooks, right? Yeah. So you know the arrow I'm talking about? Like you can just follow the arrows around on the home screen. It's pretty easy to see logically what you're supposed to do next, right? And it's funny because people all the time try to start like an arrow over here. And I'm like, no. The arrow starts right here. And that's the thing to remember. Start at the beginning of the arrow and follow it through the process. It's almost idiot-proof, except for the fact that you can go anywhere you want. You know, it's like it should be like Candyland, like start here. And it does say start here. But so many people are like, no, I want to be on the blue square, Dad. You're like, no, you got to start here at the beginning. Everybody's got to pull a card and see if you get to the pink spot, okay? So that's what we have to do. So there are activities that it takes care of for us all the time, built into the nature of how it works. You can run large business on it. It gets to a point where you're going to want to move to like a Mass 90 or like a different a serious professional one, but they have enterprise versions of QuickBooks. Typically, QuickBooks is done by one person, maybe 4 or 5, and we're going to learn how to create users while we're in here. And that's, in accounting, we call that separation of duties. That's how you prevent fraud. That's how you allow other people to be able to lighten the load of one person doing it. But once we start getting into like 5 people being able to work in the same activity at the same time, they make an enterprise version. We're not going to go into that one. But this is for, I would say, up to 50 people in a business. You could probably do more, but I would say you could comfortably get by in QuickBooks with a 50-person business. And so the majority of small businesses can use QuickBooks and I think be just fine. If you go past that, you're probably, and they'll even show you in the recommendations, like you have 100 employees, this is the QuickBooks we recommend for you. So they have different tiers of it and different layers. Because someone that has 100 people in their business might have a totally different need than someone has 2 people in their business. A husband and wife team running a taco shop that nobody knows how to cook at. I'm just kidding. As Amy's gonna have. No. The rolled taco, the taco truck. I love that. Those that do not affect the accounting behind the scenes. So there's activities that happen that don't affect it. So lists. These are things that aren't behind the scenes but in our face. These are databases of vendors and customers and employees. Maybe jobs that we do, job types. We can do job costing, which is an incredible feature. It just takes a little effort. But then we can get so much information pulled out. How much did every job cost us? How much did this employee work on this job? You know, we can itemize down to the weirdest little nittiest gritty little thing that we want to get. It's just how much effort do we want to put into the input in QuickBooks. And our job, I think a lot of times as business owners, is analyzing what are we doing in our system, in our business, and how can we make it work with QuickBooks more efficiently. So I can get Jim to automatically say, oh, I worked 5 hours on this job. Then I can job cost that off in his timesheet, things like that. So there are ways to do that. Then we get reports. Reports is, I would say, the outcome of everything. This is where we're going to see where the metal hits the road, where we're going to see what actually is coming out, what our schedules are, what our ratios are, how much cash we have, if we're losing money. And this is the one that scares the crap out of people all the time, because that's when we have to be faced with reality. Are we doing this or are we not doing this? So a lot of times, what I've noticed when I've worked with people is this is the first thing to stop going on the checkoff list. People stop running reports. And they'll stop running the reports because they're going to tell themselves, I'm just going to keep putting everything in, and then I'll have an accountant fix it later. I'm just going to keep putting it in. But they start running the report because they're doing it wrong, and the report's looking really weird. They're like, this doesn't look right. And so they start, oh, the report's broken. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to fix it right now. That's the wrong approach. If something's going wrong in the report, you need to figure out very quickly the fundamental step that you're taking that is making it wrong, because the report should always be right. And when they start seeing numbers that start looking like they might be feeling like my business isn't doing very good, and all of a sudden the report says, hey, you lost $500,000. Like, oh man, my wife's going to kill me. I'm going to get divorced. You know, it's a lot of psychology that goes into these things, and it's the first thing to go. People stop looking at reports, and the day you stop looking at reports in QuickBooks is the day you might as well not be using it. It's just worthless at that point, because this is where the information comes to give us the decisions or the data sets that we need to make decisions. That's how we can decide what is good and what is not going good in the company. It's by what's coming out of it. So let's look at some different versions of QuickBooks. I want to go out and go here. Let's go to QuickBooks.com. Great. So sure enough, here we are. Hey, they got a sale that ends Friday, 50% off QuickBooks. They always have that sale. So they're always running some kind of special. But run your entire business with QuickBooks. Let's see. I wonder what kind of QuickBooks we could get. Oh, look at this. QuickBooks for small business. Let's look at that one first. Man, they have gone to this really big picture. I like it. It's nice. We're like, you know what? I think we should make any place a place of business, don't you? I think that would be good. I'm feeling like that's a good deal. No, Nikki, you should be paying attention, because this is your kind of stuff right here. Yeah. So we can go down. Now you can do QuickBooks up. What did I do? I'll go back to that. Uno momento, por favor. So I want to make any place a place of business. I can do QuickBooks for as low as $13 a month. And a lot of software companies are going to this monthly charge or yearly charge. Because a lot of people, what they'll do is we'll go spend $400 on a piece of software like QuickBooks, and we won't upgrade it for 4 or 5 years. So they're saying, hey, instead of spending $400, why don't you just spend like $13 a month? you always have the new version, and we get paid all the time, so we can have an annuity, so to speak, so we know that we're making income instead of having to wait for you to buy it every 5 years. So it's a common, Microsoft Office is doing this now too. No, I don't have any questions, Bub, or whatever your name is. Get more done through your day with the next generation of QuickBooks. Let's just watch it. Why not? It's on YouTube.
Welcome to the next generation QuickBooks. History from your entire business and get more done. Use QuickBooks everywhere. Sales and expenses. Accept payments. And even pay your employees. Everything you do in QuickBooks is synced between your phone, tablet, and computer, so you're always up to date. When we say you can run your entire business right from
On a Mac.
we mean it. Quickly see on your homepage who's paid and who's overdue. Check your activity feed for what's happening now and what needs to happen next. Run reports for an instant business snapshot and share with your bookkeeper or accountant.
On a Mac. Oh, there's a PC.
You can even scan receipts so you can be ready for tax time.
Oh, yeah.
The next generation QuickBooks sends professional-looking invoices, personalized with your company's own unique branding. You can create an invoice in seconds when you're on the go and have your customer
See that?
You'll be alerted that you got paid. Your books will be automatically updated, and QuickBooks will deposit the money in the bank for you.
Cha-ching.
Getting started takes less time than ordering a coffee. Just tell us a little bit about your business, and we'll customize QuickBooks for you based on other businesses like yours.
Nice.
Easily connect your bank account to download and automatically categorize your transactions. No matter where you use QuickBooks, bank-level security and automatic data backups mean you'll never have to worry about losing your info. The next generation QuickBooks is a perfect fit, no matter what your passion is, because the features you need are there when you need them. It's free to get started, and we guarantee you'll love it. See for yourself why more businesses run on QuickBooks than with anyone else. This is your business on the all-new QuickBooks. Run with it.
So it's kind of cool. We're looking at this, and they're giving us everything. They want to make sure that we can do whatever we want to within here. Now, this is the web version of QuickBooks, and they're trying to really push this right now. We're going to be learning the on-machine version of QuickBooks, but they're melding the two closer and closer together. So the good news is we're going to be probably learning a little bit more complex version of QuickBooks. But that means when you know this stuff, you can just be like, oh, I know how to do that. You can jump on the web really quickly and do the web version. It's almost like online banking at that point. It becomes very, very basic on the web. And they're just trying to make it so less people make mistakes. So we have different versions here. Let me grab my chair. We can do that fast and easy setup. And one of the beauties is that we have the power of them doing this for so many different businesses. So they get to see what other businesses are using it for and optimize it right off the bat for you. Let's see here. So we have different plans, and each one of these has different things in it. Notice that this one allows us the basics, which is what a lot of people want to do, is create estimates and invoices. But if we want to start managing and paying bills, we need to have this version of it. So they have different tiers that they can do. You want to add inventory, and you want to print 1099s, like if you have a larger thing that you're sending out money to, or you're sending out tax documentation to people, you're going to need to do this one. And let me go back up and get us to accountants. We have an accountant version now. Well, we've had it for quite a while, actually. So the accountant version is great because it's a little more complex. Now, they pay this per year. But what this does is it allows them to get trained and certified. And this is something that I'm not joking. If you're interested in accounting, this little program pays for itself all the time. Okay? So you become a bookkeeper, essentially, or a person that finalizes people's books at the end of the month. And they're making it easier and easier now with QuickBooks to, you get done, and you say create an accountant copy. It wraps it up in a little file. You can email it over to your accountant. They open it up. They have all your receipts that you've brought to them or that you scanned and send over to them. They just verify everything, make sure it's all cleaned up, the little mistakes. They wrap it back up. They send it back over. It opens back up, imports whatever you've done since it's been gone, and voila, you've got perfect books again. So you have somebody helping you every month doing it, and the accountant version does that. It makes it so that people can send you the stuff. You can open it up. You can alter things, make corrections, send it back to them. And so this is another step in that whole QuickBooks process. And this has been decades in the making. I remember back in 96 or something like that. Maybe it was a little bit before that QuickBooks really started. That was like the first year of QuickBooks. And they had made Quicken. Have you guys ever heard of Quicken? So Quicken is a personal finance package, and Intuit made it. And everybody was using it, and they started going out. They were doing a walk around, or they were doing interviews with customers, and they were astonished at Intuit to see that the #1 use for Quicken was for small businesses, but it wasn't meant for small businesses. And they're like, this is really weird. They're like, we should just come out with an Intuit Quicken for business. So the next year they kind of launched a basic version of it. They called it QuickBooks, and it went like gangbusters. And that kind of exploded this whole thing where all of a sudden they're like, hey, we should write accounting software for small businesses because it's impossible to do. And this is just one more thing that's come out, which is the accountant versions of it. Now we're going to be doing the desktop, but it is going more and more online. Let's see here. And then they have enterprise. Where did my basic versions go? Let's go back. And then they have enterprise solutions, Elizabeth. You were asking how many people and what kind of business sizes. So there's ways for it to grow. Let's see here if they show us in here. They're not giving us too much stuff on here. Here we go, comparison chart. So we can have 30 simultaneous users. We can have 100,000 items, customers, and inventory of vendors to track. We can have 1 to 10 single users. We can, these are all the upgrades they have. So there's just tons and tons of stuff that we can do that used to be in very large accounting systems. They're making it more and more robust. Now, what is QuickBooks? It's just a database. That's all it is. It's a database for accounting. And they've just written it really nice. It takes track. All these little graphs that we see, those are just reports run in a database structure. So anybody that's had a database class, this is just a very complex version of one of those with a lot of polish on the outside of it. They've made lots of forms. You just did database, didn't you? So they made lots of forms. They made good ways to input stuff. They're taking it and they're just tracking it a certain way and then giving it back to us in good reports. That's all it is. And it's a database written for one singular purpose: accounting, accounting, and accounting. That's it. Moving back over here. We don't want to chat. Thank you, though. We appreciate it. Let's do this. Let's pause and take our 10-minute break before we get into the double entry, and then we'll pick it back up. All right, so double entry accounting system, debits and credits. Once again, very important to the whole process. Debits must, this is a double, debits must always equal credits. When can they not equal credits? When you're making cheesecake. That's it. It's the only time. You can say it's 0-cal cheesecake. I know you will. It's just use aspartame, Splenda, all that stuff. So the left side of a T account. When we look at a T account, I'm going to draw one up on the board here really quick. It's a T account. We have debits. We have credits. Always equal each other. If we do something to the left side of the T account, we always have to do something to the right side. For those of us who are confused because we haven't taken accounting, don't worry, we'll get through this. I'm just giving you some of the basics. So this is why systems are often referred to as double entry, because the debits have to equal the credits. What is GAAP? Generally accepted accounting principles. This is the rule set that is prepared for us in the United States of America to do our accounting. We have to follow these rules. This is like getting a Monopoly game. And we have house rules in Monopoly. Like, okay, if you land on go, you get 400. That's not like going around the board. right? We've all got those little house rules. You can actually borrow, like I'll give you 3 times you land on here for free if you give me that property, stuff like that. Those are house rules. The house rules in the United States of America are made by GAAP. Okay? Everywhere else in the world, they use International Accounting Standards Body, IASB. They're created by FASB, Financial Accounting Standards Board. It's a bunch of guys that get together and decide what's good and what's not. And they consist of 11 basic principles. I don't think we're going to go through those basic principles, but so behind the scenes, what's going on in basic accounting is we have accounts payable and an insurance expense. If we pay, well, let's say we owe for some insurance. We got some insurance, we didn't prepay for it. Then this is how it would look. We have 2 T accounts. This is an account for what we owe, accounts payable. This is an account for the expense. We had to do a debit and a credit in order to make that account, or in order to make that transaction work. So we have one on the left and one on the right. Every transaction that we do in accounting has to have one on the left and one on the right, or it could have one on the left and 3 on the right, but the 3 on the right have to equal the one on the left. We call that a compound entry. So we can actually have, we owe, instead of putting accounts payable 2000, Brooks Family Insurance, we could actually label it this way. So debits are on the left side of the T account, whereas credits are on the right. And behind the scenes, you'll see the accounting QuickBooks performs all of this when we record a transaction. So we would just go in and say, we're paying a bill to Brooks Family Insurance. It'll do all this in the background for us. We don't even have to think about it. It's fabulous. This is why we love to use QuickBooks. And we talked about the accounting equation yesterday, but this assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity, that is what a balance sheet is, which is what our final bank statement, or our final financial statement is. So we go through all these financial statements to come out with a balance sheet. That is the accumulative total of everything that's gone on in the business from the inception of it. We can't do like, oh, I just want to see the balance sheet for June. That's not how it works. The balance sheet is carried from the beginning, from inception of business, all the way through to the point that we want to see. This is what a balance sheet looks like in QuickBooks. In fact, you'll get really used to this if you ever use QuickBooks for the rest of your life. This is what reports pretty much look like. We'll see that we have, excuse me, YouTube. I'm going to start coughing. Need Halls is what I need. Oh, that's all right. I'm very particular about my Halls. I don't eat the red ones. I eat the ice ones. You know that. She's got a black bag of ice ones. Come on. Oh, this is gonna be like Mary Poppins right here. She's gonna pull out a whole. Nope. Okay.
No, I gave those away. I gave them to Vaughn, who said that was sick in that class, and I gave him all that
It was a
medicine.
good cause.
It was a good cause.
Yeah.
Someone was coughing it up.
It was James.
Yeah.
James Newman. Was he coughing or something? I'm like, where are you at? All right. So we've got the assets. And it comes out with a total on assets. Accounts receivables gives us other current assets with a total of $39,858.22 of assets. Then we have our fixed assets of $11,000. So our total assets come out to $50,000. I think it's $985.52. The other piece of this balance sheet is the liabilities and the equity. This number right here needs to equal that number right there. And typically, all of this is located just below. This is a long enough one that's 2 pages, but typically like the assets would be like right up here. These 2 numbers will always equal in QuickBooks. It will do something funky over here in the equities area if it needs to make up something to make it equal. It'll say like your retained earnings is $5 million or it's negative $2 billion, something like that. If you've screwed up everything else, it will make some kind of switch to make it work. So that's why it's so important that we need to make sure that we do it right. The income statement. This is all this stuff on the income statement are temporary accounts. It's all the income and expense accounts. This one shows us what we made. Now you can see this one we can put a time frame on. We could say May through July. So I'm going to see what was in there. Oh, we made $34,000 for those 3 months. And we had net income was $26,123.68 because we took out our cost of goods sold. Then we removed all of our expenses for that month and we went. We have some basic account types. This is all that basic accounting information, just so we're familiar with the vernacular or the terms. We have assets, we have liabilities, we have equity, we have income, and we have expenses. Those are the 5 basic account types. So assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. In accounting, Elizabeth, what else do we have? Like if we were going to do this by hand. Starts with a C. There you go. Good job, Elizabeth. I'm just kidding. Yeah, all these, you can have contra accounts, which are the opposites, but we're not going to get us down to that. We'll do that when we get to the theory of accounting. But we can also have a cost of goods sold, contra accounts, stuff like that. Trial balance. Now, trial balance is a really interesting report because if we take the trial balance report, it's not technically a financial statement, but we should be able to take everything in our chart of accounts, which is all of our accounts that we have listed, and add up everything on the left and everything that has a right credit balance, and they should equal at the end. And that's what the trial balance is, and that's what tells us if we're doing stuff right. So it's prepared at the end of the accounting cycle. It shows everything that was affected, and it looks like this. So we take all of our debits. This is one of the only things that you'll see debits and credits in QuickBooks. Debits all the way down, credits all the way down. Those two should equal.
Trial balance, isn't that just like your little sheet of paper that just for your notes, pretty much? It's not really real important, is it?
It is important. It's not a financial statement per se, but it's a good way to make sure all the accounting's right. And it is a report in QuickBooks that you can pull up and see, like, are the debits and credits right everywhere. So we're going to launch the program today. Then we're going to learn how to store our exercise files. We're going to find out about where we're going to get all those files from. We're going to do all that wonderful stuff. We're going to open and restore QuickBooks files. And we need to decompress backed up QuickBooks files. This is important. A lot of the stuff we're going to get is going to be a backup of QuickBooks. And we do that because it shrinks the file down dramatically so that we can actually transport it. And then when we unshrink it or we unzip it or we decompress it, we pull it out and it becomes a big file, and we'll save that on our desktop or into a folder that we can get to. But it should save from that point forward. You don't have to always save it as a backup. You can just save it as a normal file, and it'll just automatically, when you exit out, say, do you want to save everything? It's saving. Every time you write a check, it saves. Every time you do something, it saves. But then it says, do you want to back it up? And that's a whole other process. We have several different types. This is on the test, I think. Several different types of QuickBooks files. We have a backup file. We'll notice that that one's kind of small here, 5.35. We have a company file, which is bigger because this is the one that we use all the time. So that's the largest one. We have a network data file. This is something that goes out there, and it's a source that can be found on the network. We have a portable company file. This is a tiny one that brings a lot of the data over and around us with us, but not a bunch of the specifics. And we have a transaction log file. This is everything that we've done so far to QuickBooks. So we can go back and see. That's kind of like for forensic stuff. We can see what's going on with the program, what have we done while we were in there. They're all different sizes. And what we want to make sure is we see the difference between a backup file, which is smaller, and a portable file, which is tiny. This is actually KB is much smaller. It takes 1,000 KB to equal 1 MB for any of us non-computer nerds in here. That's a kilobyte versus a megabyte. And everybody should just take a bite out of a fruit of an apple and buy a Mac. No, so we're all going to be Mac people by the time we leave here. Then we have the QuickBooks Window. So this is our basic framework of how we're going to be operating in here. This is the beginning screen to a lot of it. Now you can see this is looking a little archaic even now with the new version of QuickBooks, how they're having all that new modern slick looking stuff. But I am going to say, if we start at the beginning and we follow the arrows around, it will tell us where we need to go and how we need to do it, okay? So think of it as Candyland. Oh, I can't start at receive payments? That's not the beginning. I need to start as a statement charge or an estimate that goes into a create an invoice. You know, you have to start from one process, and if you follow that process, it will do perfect accounting for you. So a lot of people be like, well, I just want to put the payment in. Ignore that temptation for a second. That's that bad angel, shoulder angel. It's a shoulder devil. You guys see Emperor's New Groove with Kronk and shoulder angels? You know, so the shoulder angel pops up and is like, hey, just put in receive payments. The other one's like, oh, wait, you know, you're supposed to do estimates. You can think about it one of two ways. You could be like, you know what? I can go in really quickly and get this done. Or I could take probably an extra 10 seconds of my life, go in and write that same payment up as an estimate. So I'm going to estimate that I'm going to do the job for this. Click create an invoice, go straight into the invoice automatically because it will take you right there and say collect the payment, and then you're right here at the receive payment. Okay? So you could do the same thing in 2 clicks, but it's all accounted for properly from the beginning. So just you have to think about it from the beginning where that came from. Okay, so it's receive payment. What was a statement charge actually? Okay, well then go back and do the statement charge, go to statements, and it'll come up and receive payments automatically. So just go back to the first piece and it will track everything logically. I want to pay my bills. I'm going to click pay bills. No. Enter your bills and then click all of them that you want to pay, and you'll see we can just go through and we just put a checkbox by them and we can say pay bills. This part gets done automatically. Instead of going in and writing a check, then we've skipped a step and it doesn't get recorded properly. Now you can technically do it, but it's like why when you could have all of the benefits with a click and a click and a pay? It's like let's just do that. Okay. We can control this. We can show what's there. We can make that kind of customized. Unfortunately, we can't put puppy dogs in the background or anything like that. We can't put a big charger bolt, but then it would probably burn up anyway and not work when we needed it to in the best part. So. So we can view all the options via the menu bar, and that's under View. So we can add different icons and things like that. We can customize it. We need to be able to back up our data. It's very important to avoid data loss. They offer a backup service. But guess what? Google and Apple now offer drives that are free and have so much storage on them. We're talking 15 gigs of storage for free on Google Drive. You might as well just throw it into your Google Drive, because it's going to back up to the cloud automatically and any other computer that's connected to it. And if your computer blows up, you just log into your Google Drive, you download the QuickBooks file, boom, you're off to the races and you're running. It will always be there. So as a little tip for the future, you don't have to pay for their backup. You can just use Google's free backup. But you want to make sure that you want to store it in a different location where your master company file is. Now I would argue in Google Drive, if you're using it in Google Drive, that is where your master is, and it's by default backing it up somewhere else. So that's a pretty decent way to do it. I actually haven't done a QuickBooks file in Google Drive yet, but I'm sure it works. So we want to make sure that we put them anywhere. We don't want to keep it. We want to put it in a space bag. And then we have many online options, and Google Drive would be the one I would promote right now. It's just a freebie. It's a lot of access. Easy to get there. So yeah, all the data is compressed in a company file when we back it up. That's why it's so much bigger. So let's jump in and do some real installing. Deal? I'm going to click pause on here. Hope this works. I haven't tried this with Windows 8 yet. Okay, everybody. Pop open the drive on your CD. At the back of the book, you should have a Windows disk, or a QuickBooks disk. This is correct. It's a 60-day trial. You need to make sure before you put it in there that you lick the back. I'm just kidding. I was just telling somebody it's really fun when you do this with newbie. Yeah, please. Newbie. Well, that was exactly what I was telling. It's really funny because people will be like, it's not installing, Mr. Greer. And I'll be like, close your CD drive. So yes, we want to open the CD drive, place the disk securely in there, and then close it. That's what gives it the right to start working. I'm actually going to run this little thing called Setup. Are we all on Windows 8? No? If you're not on Windows 8, you can just run it from the Start menu. Well, you can go find the drive. It should pop up as a little CD, or you should get the little window that pops up and says, what do you want to do? Open it or run it? Here, open folder to view files. Could look something like this. It just pops open, and you see everything in here. Some people's children. Run setup, is that what you said? So I see down here something called Setup. I'm going to double click that. I hope it's going to let me install QuickBooks on here.
And if it's not picking it up, Mr. Greer?
Then you failed. No. Then you've already unsucceeded. Then you're going to go like this. You click this little, I'll show everybody. Yeah. You should see a disk right there. If, for some reason, you are having a problem having it come up and you can't see it, then you would go down to this little folder button right here. Click on that. And it should come up like this, and you should be able to see a DVD drive. It'll say DVD read write or something right here. Like this. This is what mine looks like. Annette's was right here. But if you just double click on the DVD drive, it should come up with that setup screen. And I think I'm actually running setup, so it's freaking out right now. Looks like QuickBooks 2013 Premiere is going. Ooh, I see green screens everywhere. I love it. I should just flip the whole classroom around so I can see everybody's screens all the time. Because it's hard to see everybody's through that window back there. It's going. Just let it go. If you double click it, you see the little blue circle. Be calm. Be cool. You probably ran it 5 times by now. Yes. Jennifer, we're not playing Minecraft right now.
How cold do you think this classroom needs to be?
I'd say another 2 degrees. You asked, I answered. I'm on fire all the time. I'm in fuego. Right there? That's where you need to be right there, Mr. Tuck. How are you doing? All right. So we can see the first fun part of QuickBooks. It takes forever to load. Elizabeth is just like chomping at the bit. I hope so. I don't know. I hope mine's even going to install. I think I've installed it once on here. It doesn't like it when you've installed the demo, then you try to do the demo again. She didn't like that.
I would like to talk about when we did the debit and credit, and as I did the A's and B's and D's, I had those correct. They had the same totals, but when I transferred that balance, was the trial balance, to the following sheet, it wouldn't. I couldn't account for those extra income that was missing. You know.
There should be nothing missing.
Well, we had remember you had a total, and then you had like your income statement that said this total, but you had really the actual this total, so you had to balance that. You did that in trial balance.
No. You just take over. The trial balance is just every total from each account, from your ledgers. That's all the trial balance is. You just go through all your ledgers, whatever the total balance is, you put it in the trial balance. It has nothing to do with the income statement. So, welcome to QuickBooks. Nikki, are you here?
Of course not.
I didn't think so. You just tell me when you're there.
Okay.
I'm going to kick my feet up.
Relax.
Bask in this wonderfully air-conditioned room.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I live in a first-world country that allows me to air-condition myself. These first-world problems of, it's a degree too cold in here. Suck it up. 73. So it says 72, right? Ron, be my witness. I am not touching it. My hand is back here.
Yes.
Thank you. It's 72 degrees. In your face! No, it's broke. I have an audit. She just came and audited it. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. We're waiting for her.
Well, it doesn't say next yet, but it's.
Set up his deck and only one instance. Okay, so I did it. There we go. Hopefully you just killed that second one. I got impatient and hit it twice. I'm going to click next. Oh my gosh. I'm going to accept this. I don't even know what it says, but it says something about your firstborn child will be given into it. Okay. Your second grandbaby. What? No. Now make sure you hit next and not back. I just have to have some fun here. Ooh, Express. Sure, I don't care. Let's install the default. I don't know. Let me see.
Windows support has ended. What the heck?
I'm going to look at it real quick. Hold on. You don't want to click what I click. I want to look at Nikki's here.
Then this came up. And
Yeah,
said-
yeah. Don't ignore that. That's your
Ignore all this stuff.
virus that you got going on here.
No, really, it really is. It's some screwed up computer.
Wow. You're using Internet Explorer.
I'm not.
How many times? This is Internet
Well, I
Explorer.
don't know how to get it off of there.
How many times did I tell you not to use Internet Explorer?
I haven't touched anything.
System Optimizer Pro. Yeah, that just installed
See, I
itself.
don't know how to get. I told you I tried to delete all that.
That
crap,
installed itself.
and it won't go away.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. That's wow.
Some people's children, I know. Okay.
Okay, we're at that point. We'll have to do that later.
Yeah.
You have to turn that into Julio.
No.
Yep.
Who's Julio?
Straight erase.
You better have it backed up.
I don't need to back up anything. I'm turning it.
You got it in Google Drive? You can ask Julio, because when he gets stuck, he comes to me. He's like, how do I fix it? So I'll fix it. He goes, how did you fix it? And I'll always say, I've got the magic in me. So he sings that song now.
Okay, so now we're going to customer network options.
I'm going to look here really quick. I was just waiting for you. Let me just click next to see what we got here. Because I don't like, QuickBooks really launches a ton of junk all over the place. I'll be using QuickBooks on this computer. I'll be storing the, blah, 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 I'll be storing conversation. Yeah, go ahead and hit custom. Why not? We can just answer these as we slowly go through with moi. I'm going to say, yes, I'll be using QuickBooks on this computer. We need a license number. Hotlanta. Where do we get that? Oh, good job, Annette. Annette's like, I already found this. This is at the back of the book. Mine is up, up. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. I'm going to have to delete this part from YouTube, where QuickBooks will be like, everybody's using that product code. Blah, blah, blah. I got to figure out how to blur that part. I know it's possible. All right, so here we are. We've gone on to the next part. We want to make sure we change the location of this one specifically. Make sure you don't forget this. I'm just kidding because Nikki's just still looking down. I'm just trying to freak her out. Yeah. So.
With how you chose to help them go, I left it at Express. Would that matter?
Well, you're not going to be doing any of this then, I think. Yeah. You're on your own at that one, Annette. You've given yourself into the beast of QuickBooks. We all right here? Everybody got everything typed in? That's what I thought. That's why I asked. I really need the Brazilian barbecue green and red. You know, like I want more meat. I don't want any more meat. We could change this, and you know what? I'm going to leave it just so I don't screw with QuickBooks, but I was thinking about putting it in my Google Drive, but that's right.
So we just push next?
Yeah, I'll show you how to store stuff in Google Drive. How about that later? Here we go. So this is going to approximately take 15 to 20 minutes. And we're off to the races. This is going to be a riveting 20 minutes of YouTube video. Just like, no, it's not. Who is walking on Friday? I'm chopping your legs off. Kendra's walking. So, haha! Now, it's still computing the space requirements. While it's doing this, I'm just going to go ahead and pause my Camtasia. Really messed some stuff up. So I'm going to go ahead and click Finish. Mine popped up in Firefox. Who knows why, but I'm just going to go like this. Close. It says, for details, great, thank you, Okaze. So this, I closed Firefox. Sure, that's great. I don't know why Firefox opened on mine. It did that. Google Chrome was my default. It did that on its own. But this is where we want to be for tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to download all the company files for the homework. and I'm going to give you all the stuff to be successful in QuickBooks, and then go home, and we'll do a lot of activities tomorrow. In fact, we might just go through the homework ourselves tomorrow in class. Okay, if we have some time. It takes a while. If you have viruses on your computer, it's going to pause for a while because your viruses are taking up all your processing power. I started at the same time too, and I was done in like 2 minutes. You guys are all sitting back here like blah 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 blah. Okay, you and I are going to have to deal with that.